Hello, everyone. Welcome to our little corner of the internet called the Mustache and The Beard.com. Two Grey Geeks, changing the world one post at a time. My name is Louis Matos. I am the Mustache, co-contributor and co-conspirator to the Mustache and The Beard.com, where we talk about geek culture, genre entertainment, and all the little things in between that make life worth living. This is our autopsy video number 6, where we're going to be talking about the birds.
The boys.
Joining me today, as always, is my buddy.
Hi, I'm Junior Figueroa, a.k.a. The Beard, coming to you live from sunny Puerto Rico.
Live.
Where the women are hotter, the beaches are wetter, and the martinis are drier. Booyah!
Whippa.
Whippa! Whippa! Ah!
Okay. All right, so, as you saw on our title card, we're going to be talking about, well, it's an autopsy video number 6, where we're going to be talking about the birds. The Birds is a 1963 movie. Drama mystery is what they call it on IMDb, which I find interesting because I call it horror.
Horror. Everybody else calls it horror.
Horror suspense. A movie directed by Alfred Hitchcock, adapted from a story by Daphne du Maurier, screenplay by Evan Hunter,
also known as Ed McBain,
which he wrote the 87 Precinct Mysteries, also as Ed McBain, as Evan Hunter wrote Concrete Jungle, if I recall correctly. The movie is about a series of unexplained attacks by birds. Violent bird attacks on the people of Bodega Bay.
A small little community near San Francisco.
Yeah, so it's off the Pacific Coast Highway.
Mm-hmm. The bay is part of the Pacific Ocean.
And this happens over the course of a few days. We'll be talking about all of the beats. We're going to be talking about the characters. We're going to do our autopsy video like we normally do. We break things apart,
analyze them, and then put them back together, hopefully in some kind of order.
Yes, some kind of special way. So now, I'm going to start talking. We're going to talk about the characters like we normally do.
Absolutely.
So, actress Tippi Hedren is the lead, female lead. Her character is Melanie Daniels. She's a rich girl.
Her father owns a newspaper.
Yeah, the daughter of a newspaper magnate, as it's described in IMDb, who likes to play pranks. We learn that pretty quickly. So, do we want to talk about all the characters first, or just we want to move it along?
Let's introduce all the characters first.
Okay. Then we have not Evan Hunter. We have Rod Taylor.
Rod Taylor as the male lead.
Yeah.
The strong, silent type.
Well, Mitch Brenner is a lawyer. We find that out because, Tippi Hedren comes in. Well, I thought you said we want to talk about the characters first. Okay.
He's a lawyer.
Crime lawyer.
Criminal lawyer. He lives in San Francisco, but his mother and his little sister live in Bodega Bay, and he goes to Bodega Bay every weekend.
Yes, we find out over the course of the movie. All right. And I guess that's pretty much all we know from the beginning. Mm-hmm. Right? Okay, so then his sister is pretty important. His sister is called Kathy Brenner. She is, I don't know, she looks like she's 12 years old or something like that.
Couldn't be no more than 12.
Yeah. And played by Veronica Cartwright.
Now,
that should be familiar.
Geeks You remember that name?
You should.
Veronica Cartwright? You should. Alien.
The first one.
First one, Alien.
Yeah, there are only 2 females in that movie.
Sigourney Weaver
Mm-hmm.
and Veronica Cartwright. Only a much grown.
Yeah.
So basically, Veronica Cartwright gets menaced by birds, then she becomes an astronaut, gets in a ship, and is menaced by a monster. Boy, does she have some karma.
Yeah, bad luck.
Holy mackerel, does she have some karma.
But giving her some definite horror cred.
That's true. That's true.
All right. Then her mother, obviously their mother of both Mitch and Kathy, obviously they're way different in age. Right? Kathy is 12 years old.
Mitch is a grown man.
Yeah, he's a grown man.
At least 30.
Yeah. Because he's a lawyer, practicing lawyer, so he's gone through
law school, and he's gone through his internships and,
all of that.
Yeah.
All right. So, their mother is played by Jessica Tandy. Geeks, you should know that name too.
Jessica Tandy.
And she plays Lydia Brenner.
Jessica Tandy. Batteries not included.
Driving Miss Daisy.
Driving Miss Daisy.
And Cocoon.
Cocoon.
That's another
Jessica
geek
Tandy.
movie. Yeah. So you should be familiar with that name. All right, another really good actress. These actors and actresses, are really top notch for this movie. All right, and
one thing that we should have mentioned is that this is an Alfred Hitchcock movie.
Yeah, I did that when we first. Yeah, the director. But yeah,
and he only surrounded himself with the best, especially at this point where he was, up there in his career.
Yeah.
So he only surrounded himself with the best, and these people, they were the best.
Yeah, and this is considered his last classical movie. All right. Suzanne Pleshette has a key part in this. She plays Annie Hayworth, school teacher who is Kathy's school teacher, in fact,
and a friend of
Mitch,
and of his mother.
Mm-hmm. All right. So those are our characters.
There are other. I mean, we meet the people of Bodega Bay, but these are the main characters.
Yeah, these are the ones that we're most interested in. All right. So we saw this video for the last night.
Okay.
After I'd have to say I've seen this movie like maybe 20 times.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So it's a familiar movie, although I hadn't seen it in about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So, so it plays like a new movie, except that, at certain parts that were the memorable parts, you're like, oh yeah, I know what's going to happen now.
I have to admit that despite having seen this movie so many times, I did see things that I had not noticed. I had never noticed before. So it made the watching of this movie a fresh experience for me. For example, there is a scene where Tippi Hedren is driving on the Pacific Coast Highway, and if anybody knows the Pacific Coast Highway, it's got turns, And she has a pair of lovebirds in a cage on the seat of her car next to her. And I had never noticed before that they focus on the lovebirds. The back of the lovebirds are facing forward, and they focus on the back of the lovebirds. And as she's making the turns, the lovebirds are going like this. And then they straighten up. And then when she makes the left-hand turn, the lovebirds go like this. I thought that was hilarious. I found that the funniest thing.
It's a very nice touch.
It was a very nice touch. Showed that Hitchcock had a sense of humor.
All right, so before we go into the plot points, let's first say that we're doing this as a consequence of two people. One first, Alfredo Zapata had when I posted my classic horror movies, was concerned that I had not included the birds.
Where's the birds?
Yeah. And the reason was because I had already included one Alfred Hitchcock movie, and in fact, it was my number one, Psycho. And as a consequence, I told him, I felt like I could only include one. And the Psycho is the far superior movie. Although, this is absolutely a close second. If I would have been allowed, if I would have said to, I think I have an 11, 12, 13, this one definitely would have been in that 15.
It would have been a top 12.
Yeah. So up there it would have been. All right. So this is in response to Alfredo Zapata. And then when I reposted my list, had a fresh argument from Dilcia Martinez.
Dilcia.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, you're going to be going off on vacation, so right before you go on vacation, we should probably cover this for our blog. So
yeah, and Dilcia, if you're ever wondering whether we pay attention to you, this is the proof that we do.
Mm-hmm. All right. So yeah, we like the fact that some of our geeks are extremely interactive, and we're appreciative of that.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna start off with the story. Story starts off in a bird shop, right?
A pet shop for birds.
Uh-huh. Now, what's interesting is this is in San Francisco,
right?
And we right away before when Tippi Hedren is going into, or Melanie Daniels as her character is called, she's going into the shop. She's like, "Wow, there's a lot of birds here," and they're flying around and they're acting a little manic. So already there is this sense of foreboding that Hitchcock begins his movie with, which we were pretty much amazed because there are certain moments in the movie that there is silence. I'm talking dead silence.
Not even music.
No music. So you get to hear whatever sound design is occurring. So if somebody's taking a step and there's creaking boards, that's what you hear. That's all you hear. So
there are times when the camera is focusing on a person who is not doing anything. Meanwhile, there's action that is taking place off camera, and we're only privy to what's happening off camera by the sound of the footsteps, the boards creaking, perhaps a gate swinging. We only know what's
the fluttering of wings.
We only know what's going on by the sounds. Okay. Then after whatever it is that we've been listening to occurs, then the camera cuts, and then we see the aftermath of what happened. We didn't actually see what happened. We heard what happened.
Yeah, there's a sense from the beginning of building suspense, which is absolutely key to an Alfred Hitchcock movie. And we see it brilliantly used in this movie. All right, so she's in the pet shop. She goes into the pet shop. She's waiting on a mynah bird, right? Which she has previously ordered. She was told
it has not arrived.
It hasn't arrived. Now, a mynah bird is a speaking bird. Is a bird that mimics what you say. So there's a specific reason why she's looking for this mynah bird, and she tells us about a little later on why she was looking for this mynah bird. So we'll leave that off to the side for a second. So she's the lady says, "Well, they haven't delivered the bird yet. Let me call to see if they're coming." And she's like, "No, it's all right. I'll just send it to me." And she's like, "No, let's just wait a few minutes and let me make the call." So she goes up away to make the call.
In comes Rod Taylor as Mitch Brenner. He's looking to buy lovebirds for his little sister, for her birthday. Thinking because Melanie Daniels is bent over writing on the counter, he thinks, or supposedly he thinks, that she works there So he starts asking her for help in getting his lovebirds for his sister. And what ensues basically is a cat and mouse game between Mitch Brenner and Tippi Hedren as she pretends, for the fun of it, as a joke, she pretends that she works there, but she knows absolutely nothing about birds. Nothing. Not a thing. So, for example, he asks for lovebirds, and she points out, what was it?
Redbirds.
Redbirds.
Mm-hmm.
Redbirds.
Or blackbirds, something like that. Yeah.
Redbirds. And then and apparently Mitch knows a little bit more about birds and keeps correcting her.
Mm-hmm.
What eventually ensues is that Mitch knew that he was playing a joke. She thought she was playing a joke on him, and he was playing a joke on her. He knew who she was because of an incident that had happened in Rome where she had supposedly jumped into a fountain naked. And he knew...
Remember, she's a rich girl.
Right.
So she's living a life of luxury.
He knew who she was from seeing her in court. Apparently she got sued for something that she did.
Yeah.
And he was a lawyer.
For playing a practical joke.
Playing a practical joke. So, to now, in that exchange, we discover that he's a lawyer. We also discover that she's a rich girl with a bad sense of humor and a bad reputation.
And yeah, so we get some real characterization in that first scene. A lot of interplay. Nothing happens. However, I was mesmerized. I mean, just the whole back and forth between the two of them, you're getting characterization. You're getting the fact that you know that she's a rich girl. You know that she plays practical jokes, that she likes to do this, and that not all of them are well received. We know that Mitch is a lawyer who is, he fights for the good guy.
He's a criminal lawyer.
Uh-huh.
He's a defense lawyer, not a prosecutor. And we know, and it's because of the dialogue and the actor's delivery of the dialogue that they don't lose you.
Yeah.
They don't lose you. It's not a conversation that you find boring. It's a conversation that you find interesting, and they make you. I won't say at this point you're in love with their characters, but you're certainly interested in their characters. They make you interested in.
They're not tremendously pleasant characters. Let's make it clear. The fact is that Mitch is a defense lawyer, so he's not, he says he defends people, but they're not always the most savory, as we find out in a later scene. His sister says he hangs out with hoods.
He hangs out with hoods.
All right, so.
No, and the thing is, what I found is, because he's a lawyer, he has a way of talking and twisting what you say.
Yeah,
he's
rapid.
Rapid. The exchange between them is quick, and he has a way of catching what she says and twisting it.
Mm-hmm. So you're a liar,
which makes perfect sense because he's a lawyer. You can understand why he talks like that and why his mind works like that. He recognized her and decided to play a prank on her because of her reputation.
All right. So,
beautifully done.
Yeah. So we move on from that scene, right? Now he leaves, right?
He leaves.
He changes. He goes, I changed my mind. I'm not going to get that.
I'll find something else.
Yeah. So what happens is she's a rich girl, and so
and he irritated her,
intrigued her
at the same time. Because let's face it, Rod Taylor is gorgeous. Okay, and so she goes out.
Tippi Hedren's not so bad herself.
Oh no,
this is her first movie, and she is.
Yeah, Yes, absolutely, and totally without showing us anything provocative, without being provocative. She is hot. Okay, it is 1963. What you're gonna see in movies is limited in terms of that. You didn't need to. Okay, it's perfect. So she goes outside. She sees the car that Mitch leaves, and she gets the license plate number.
And then we find out that she calls the newspaper, says, "I need you to find out this. My daddy will be fine with that." And so we know her dad is like a half owner of the newspaper,
and the familial connection and with the newspaper and all this.
So now she found out that he lives in Bodega Bay. Where he lives. She finds out where he lives. So she buys the lovebirds. She's gonna
because he had come in originally looking for lovebirds for his little sister.
Goes to his apartment. Knocks on the door. Well, he doesn't answer, so she's gonna leave a note and the lovebirds right there. And a nosy neighbor, comes and says, "Oh, he doesn't. He's not gonna be here till Monday."
Monday, he goes away for the weekend.
Yeah. So he goes to Bodega Bay. And she goes, "Oh, okay." So now she's left with a choice. My prank is I wanted to deliver the lovebirds, kind of like a surprise. Like, hey, the rich girl, has more personality.
No, she wrote him a letter. Remember, a nasty letter.
Yeah.
She wrote, which she later decides not to.
Yeah, she rips it up.
But she at that point she was going to leave the lovebird and a nasty letter. A snarky letter, let's say.
And so she decides, you know what? In for a penny, in for a pound, I'm going to Bodega Bay. And he told her, it's about a 2-hour drive, something like that. Now, that's a long time for a prank. For somebody you don't know, it's just like, well, it's good to be rich, I guess.
Yeah. And it's part of her personality. She wanted to one-up him.
Yeah.
He got her.
Mm-hmm.
Now it was her turn now to get him, and this was her way of getting him.
Yeah.
So she hops in the car with the lovebirds, and she goes to Bodega Bay, and that's when we have that wonderful scene with the lovebirds
on the Pacific Coast Highway,
which I thought was hilarious. I found it hilarious. And she gets to Bodega Bay, and she asks questions, and she finds out where Mitch Brenner lives, which is across the bay. Because she's in the town, and they live across the bay. You can see it on the horizon. The guy describes it. You see the White House between the two.
You hear the gulls in the distance, and
And now she wants to get there, but she wants it to be a surprise. If she drives up there, it's obvious.
Yeah, they live so far away that
any
car coming is...
And they're going to hear it.
Yeah.
They're going to hear it. So what she opts to do is to rent a motorboat and go across the bay. Now you have to picture this. The rich girl, right? Her hair is immaculate. Her makeup, immaculate.
Pristine.
Pristine. She's wearing a green dress.
With a little jacket and a fur coat.
And a fur coat. And high heels. And a purse.
And her pearls,
And her pearls. And she's renting a motorboat to go across the bay, right? To deliver these birds. And even the guy, he's like, you know how to handle a motorboat?
Yeah. Do you want me to drive you to take it? And she goes, no, I know how to. I can manage.
I got this. And you in the audience, you're like,
yeah, right.
Really? Really? Well, let me tell you something. She manages to do it. Not only does she do it, she doesn't not break a nail. She does not get a run in her stocking.
She doesn't mess her hair.
Not a hair out of place. Nothing. Right? And She gets close to the house, cuts the motor, and then goes in with oars.
Rowing.
Holy
In
mackerel.
a fur coat.
And a fur coat. And high heels. Holy mackerel. I'd marry her right there. And she makes it to their dock, because they have their own dock. She ties up the boat. She goes inside. She leaves the lovebirds. She wrote a little note or a card to Kathy.
Yeah, for her birthday.
But she rips up the letter, the snarky letter that she was going to leave to Mitch. And she leaves the house. She makes it. She goes into the house and out without getting caught. Goes back on the dock, gets on the boat,
Rows out.
Well, she maneuvers I thought, what is she doing?
She's still tied to the deck.
Still tied. And I'm yelling at the screen. You're still tied to the dock. No, she knew what she was doing. She was using the tie so that she could maneuver the pivot, right, to point the boat in the right direction before taking off the line. My esteem for her shot up even more. So and she rolls out again. She rolls out.
And Mitch is coming out of the garage, so she ducks down, and she's watching to watch what he's doing.
And he goes into the house. 2 minutes later, he comes running out. He found the lovebirds. He found the note. So he comes out. He's looking. He's looking for her. So she starts trying to move the. Matter of fact, I think she starts the motor.
She starts the motor,
and that's what makes him look out in the bay. And he goes and he gets binoculars and he sees her, right?
Jumps in his car
and beats
speeds,
her. Yeah. Beats her back to town, so that when she's coming with the boat, he's already there.
Now this is about 25 minutes into the movie,
right?
Because as she's motorboating,
now nothing untoward has happened. No mayhem has happened yet.
We're anticipating,
right?
And we keep building and keep building.
This is a horror movie. This is a horror movie. This is Hitchcock, right? Nothing has happened yet. It's been an interesting story. She's an interesting character, so she holds your attention, right? You're waiting. When is something going to happen? Boom.
At the 25-minute mark, a gull attacks her.
Bam!
Just
for no reason.
Hits her in the forehead, streaming blood.
Blood.
And she's a little. We see that she's phased. She's phased.
I mean, to get hit hard enough that you're bleeding, and it sounds. You hear.
Could have been a rock. And she's still kind of like trying to get to the dock on the town at Bodega Bay. And Mitch is already there.
He saw it.
Yeah, he saw it.
And he's flipping out.
Yeah. So as she gets closer, he helps her out of the boat, ties it to the dock and, helps her up and takes her to the diner where, the owner of the diner says, "Did you fall right in front?" Because scared.
Yeah, because he's afraid he's going to get sued.
Yeah, and Mitch is like, "Don't worry, it wasn't right in front of your house, right in front of the diner." She goes, "Just bring me some antiseptic so I could clean her."
Cotton and antiseptic.
Yeah, so cleans her up, and she's, and then we have the little back and forth again.
Yeah, again that the dialogue between the two of them, which is fun.
Yeah,
it's fun. It's fun watching them talk like that.
Now she had talked to Annie first, right? She did, because in order to find out their address, she had to find out Kathy's address.
Right.
Yeah, so that one of the parts that we missed was her first
encounter.
Yeah, encounter with Suzanne Plachette's character, which is Annie Hayworth, I'm sorry. So Annie Hayworth, who is Kathy's teacher. And, she doesn't know where Mitch lives. So she goes to Annie Hayworth and says, and the postmaster directs her.
Oh, no. He knew where she lives. He didn't know Kathy's name.
Oh, okay.
That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
She got Alice from one person and something else from somebody else.
Yeah.
And she needed the name in order to... Remember, she's not intending to be seen.
Yeah,
so she needed the name for
to write
the
card.
card. So they direct her to the school teacher's house because obviously she would know the name of her student.
Mm-hmm.
And her house was right next to the schoolhouse.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes over there and introduces herself and asks what the Burner girl's name is.
Yeah. And so and immediately there is this little, you could tell that Annie has a little thing for Mitch.
Right. There's a jealousy.
Yeah, there's a little jealous thing. It's it's subtle.
Right.
Not so subtle that we don't see it.
Right. It's obvious, but it's subtle within the context of their
discussion.
Their interplay.
So yeah, we're like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting here. But it never stops, dissuades Annie from helping her by saying, this is her name, good luck with Mitch, kind of a thing. So she goes, does her little thing, and so in her discussion now with Mitch, after he's put the antiseptic on her forehead, he goes,
"What are you doing?
Yeah, what are you doing here?" And she goes, "Oh, I was coming over here anyway. I was coming to visit my good friend Annie."
Liar.
Yeah, just met her, but found out enough about Annie. The school teacher, blah blah blah, gives a little.
Oh, where do you know Annie from? College. We were in college together.
Yeah.
Right.
So he does he invite her to dinner?
He invites her to the party?
No, that's the following. No, Kathy does the inviting to her party.
Yeah, I think he does invite her to dinner.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he invites her to dinner. He convinces her to stay and to go to dinner so that she could meet Kathy.
Mm-hmm. So,
and he does it in his lawyer voice, so she's unable to say no.
Yeah, it's that argumentative style that
lawyers have.
So she goes, okay, and he goes, do you have a place to stay? And she goes, oh yeah, I'm staying at Annie's house.
Staying at Annie's house. Liar.
So yeah, then they show her go to Annie, and
Annie has a room to rent.
Uh-huh.
So and she's willing to rent it to her.
Mm-hmm.
So she gets the room,
mm-hmm.
and she buys a
nightgown.
A nightgown to sleep in.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's a very, very interesting, extremely interesting conversation between her and Annie, in which we get a lot of information. We're privy to a lot of information. We understand that Annie and Mitch had a thing going at one time.
And the camera placement is extremely essential on this.
Oh my God!
I told Junior, it's like, hey, it's like, whoa, why'd you move the camera? It's like, you had it perfect. He had it perfect in the beginning, right, where Annie is in the front of the shot, and Melanie, who is the one talking, is on the back of the shot.
But so much is being said by Annie's face.
And body language.
So she is saying, the one that's speaking is Melanie. But the one that's really communicating is Annie through her face and body language. Mm-hmm. So much so that she's got your attention.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, no background music at all. None. This movie is almost bereft of music.
Except when it has a purpose.
Right. But he goes whole time.
Whole scenes.
There is, well, we'll get to that. But here in this conversation, there's quiet, and there is a lot being communicated just on body language and just the way a character is receiving information that is being communicated by somebody else.
Information is being communicated by verbally, right? We learn about Mitch and Annie's relationship and why it didn't work. We learn about Mitch's mother and the reason why Mitch and Annie's relationship did not work. This is communicated verbally. However, the emotions of this scene are communicated by expression and by body language. Okay?
Yeah. Before this scene, though, was the dinner. There was the dinner before she goes. This is where she goes to bed.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So the dinner scene. Listen, we get to find out Mom. We meet Mom, and Mitch's relationship with Mom. Mitch.
It's sad. It's a sad situation. Not terribly sympathetic towards the mother, but still, it's sad. Basically,
Mitch has lost his dad.
4 years. 4 years ago.
For 4 years,
And the mother is lost without him, and she's depending upon Mitch to be
every weekend has to come up. His life is in San Francisco as a lawyer.
He has an apartment,
and every weekend he's got to come to be with his sister and to be with Mom. Mm-hmm. All right, so we get a real understanding from Annie, from Mom, and from Kathy, Mitch's relationship with women. They're not very successful. The only good relationship he has is with Kathy, his sister.
Yeah. The mother basically is afraid of being alone. She apparently has not gotten over the death of her husband, and she feels abandoned by his death. And she's afraid that if Mitch hooks up with someone, that he will stop coming. He will.
She's threatened by every woman, Annie says.
For that reason, because she feels that she's terrified of being alone, which means that she's afraid that Mitch is going to meet someone and have a life of his own, and that Kathy's going to grow up, get married, have a life of her own, and that ultimately she's going to be
left
alone, and she's terrified. She's terrified of the idea of being alone,
almost incapacitated.
Yes.
In the fact that
she.
All right, so let's go into the Kathy's birthday party.
Well, first, what I wanted to say, back in the house, is that Melanie gets a phone call from Mitch, which is how she gets invited. He talks her into going to the party. What I found interesting was that the conversation is going on while the camera is focused on Annie. Mm-hmm. And Annie is sitting there saying nothing, but communicating so much with her face and her body. Okay? We're hearing the conversation on the phone off camera. What we're looking at is Annie, and it's riveting. You can't take your eyes off Annie. I mean, Hitchcock did it so brilliantly.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about the first attack. It's at Kathy's birthday party. All right. So you have Kathy's birthday party with a lot of kids.
Outside.
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 You know, Kathy's gonna swing and she was blindfolded for, to knock the piñata, and
no, but then Mitch and Melanie. Mitch has a bottle of booze and two glasses, and he takes her. And apparently, their relationship has taken a couple of leaps forward. In the sense of that he's boozing her up.
Mm-hmm.
And
she goes, "Oh no, I can't drink too much because I gotta go get back. I'm just here for the party, and then I'm heading out." Mm-hmm. And he's like, "Oh, you shouldn't head out. You should stick around."
Meanwhile, Mother is like, "Head out.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here.
See ya. Bye." Yeah. So Lydia Brenner is not thrilled that this seems to be progressing between them, but here she's hiding it for Kathy's sake. Because Kathy has taken...
Oh, my God. Kathy adores Melanie.
Yes.
She adores her present. She absolutely loves the lovebird. It's the perfect gift. And she is crazy about Melanie. And Melanie shows us that she is equally crazy about Kathy.
Yes. Veronica Cartwright. All right. So here we are. Outside, kids having fun, piñata, and she's blindfolded, and she gets swooped by a bird, and she's like, "Hey, I can't see, this and that."
That's not fair.
Yeah, she's thinking that they're having a laugh on her, and it's not funny. So there's this attack. All the kids are, have to go running inside the house. The adults. Annie, the teacher, the mom, everybody's trying to get everybody into the house, all the kids in the house. And who's the most...
Because the kids panic, as you would expect. The smartest thing would be to run into the house, but some kids run away from the house. Yeah. And Annie has to go and get them because they're running in the wrong direction. Some kids smartly... I'll get under the table, but that is not a dumb thing to do. But it leaves you out there, whereas the house is safe as protection. So they have to collect these kids.
And the most effective person there is Melanie. Melanie's the one that helps. It immediately goes to Kathy to help Kathy out, and there's
she's blindfolded. Remember,
right? And so she helps her out. Another kid being pecked, and the kid is on the ground and being pecked, and she sees the kid, she goes and swoops her jacket over the kid to get the bird away, grabs the kid and joins up with the two girls, and boom, in the house. Listen, the best person that was acting there, and Mitch is a guy, he's a dude.
He's doing a man thing. He's picking up kids and he's carrying them to the house. But the one that shows the
most resolve,
the most fortitude, is Melanie. Melanie. Again, now my esteem is another notch.
All right. So then. So we have the next day. We want to go to the next day?
I think, isn't it that they convince her to stay? Mm-hmm. They convince Melanie to stay because of what happened.
Mm-hmm. And, all right. So we know that Mom has chickens because she's been trying to feed them, and the chickens
are off their feed.
They're off their feed, so there must be something wrong with the feed. So she calls the general store. The general store says, "Hey, it's not the bird, it's not the feed.
I sold it to somebody else, and they're not having any problem with their chickens.
And I sold a different feed to somebody else, and Mr. Fawcett,
and his chickens aren't eating.
Yeah,
and it's a different feed.
Yeah, so it must be
the chickens. There's something wrong.
Some illness going around in the chickens.
So the next day,
after this attack has happened, Lydia the mother of Mitch and Kathy, she decides, you know what, I gotta go to see Fawcett to see what's going on with his chickens, to see if that's, if it's affecting the birds. And
so she gets there. The hired hand says that he hasn't seen Mr. Fawcett yet, but he should be in the house. So she goes into the house looking for Mr. Fawcett, calls out, goes looking for him.
There's no music now.
No music.
This is one of those scenes that
I
was telling you.
Hall.
Long hallway, creaking boards.
Mm-hmm. She goes to his room, and she finds the window smashed, dead seagulls, and Mr. Fawcett pecked to death with no eyes. The birds pecked out his eyes. To say that she freaks out is like calling the Grand Canyon a ditch. Okay? She freaks out.
She runs into her car, past the ranch hand,
leaves her purse,
yeah,
drops her purse,
just goes to her car, and boom, zooming,
goes home.
We see her driving, and I'm thinking to myself, this is the Pacific Highway. It's huge. So she's like, oh, a mess. So she comes to the house, and Mitch and Melanie are together, and she goes, Mother, are you okay? And she's just motoring right past them into the house.
And Mitch goes running after her, naturally. That's his mother. It affects, they call the
police.
And
the police call Mitch, can you come hang out with me for a while? So they go.
And she's in bed. I mean, Lydia is a mess. Emotionally, she's a mess. Which is understandable. I mean, she found a dead body.
Yeah.
And she's not...
a dead body with no eyes.
With no eyes. Yeah. Pecked to death.
And she's been struggling with these birds already. One grazed her, and there's been a bird attack, so it's like, what the hell's going on?
So, the one that's taking care of it is not. Now, Mitch went with the sheriff. So the only two in the house are Lydia and she makes her tea. She brings her tea in bed. She's taking care of her. She's comforting her. And Lydia responds, I have to admit, for someone who is jealous and paranoid, and she is
she's self-aware.
She's aware of her shortcomings.
Yes, she says, this is why. I lost the person that was my husband. My strength. He was the strength. He was the one that had the rapport with the kids.
She admits to never having had a rapport with her kids. Right? That he was the one. And that she's never been able to have that kind of relationship with her children.
And so what happens when you're afraid? You hold harder, and it slips through your fingers even further because you can't hold on to it.
So we learn a lot about it's not cut and dried. It's not black and white.
Yeah, you can't just say she sucks.
Yeah, no.
Three-dimensional characters.
Right. No.
Absolutely.
And
then so
and she speaks very nicely to someone who considers
a rival.
A rival. She speaks very nicely to Melanie, almost as if saying that I know it's my problem. It's not your fault.
Mm-hmm. She tries to bridge that gap. She really does, which is great because for her story arc, we see growth.
Yeah.
But she voices a major concern.
She could very easily have been a caricature, but she's not. She's not.
Yeah, we could say she's the bitch mother-in-law,
right, yeah.
And she's not that.
And she's not. She's a real character, a real person.
All right, so what happens is she voices a concern. She said, Kathy went to school today.
Mm-hmm. Is she going to be okay?
Is she going to be okay? And she goes, and
she
Melanie
asked that
says,
like 3 times.
And Melanie says, just go to sleep. I'm going to go get her.
I'm going to go get her.
All right.
Would you feel better if I go get her? And she's like, I don't dare ask. And she said, I'll go get her. Don't make yourself comfortable. Take a nap. I will go get her.
Okay.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah. So she goes to the school. She sees Annie is teaching, and she goes to the room, and she's like, okay, no problem. And so, but Annie sees her, so there's this sense of, okay, I got to really try and wrap this up, this lesson that I'm doing. Melanie goes back outside.
To where the playground.
Iconic scene.
Playground of the school playground. She goes and she sits on the bench to smoke a cigarette while she's waiting. And as behind her,
And the monkey bars.
the monkey bars from the playground. And so they're behind her, so she can't see the monkey bars from the playground.
And so what Hitchcock does a scene of her. Again, no music. She takes her cigarette, lights her cigarette. Cut to the monkey bars.
And a lone crow comes and perches on the monkey bars.
Cut back to Melanie. Melanie's like puff, puff, puff.
And looking at the school.
Yeah, just like, when is this going to get done? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So there's a little bit of impatience. Cut back to the monkey bars. There are 2 now crows on there. And another 2 fly onto the monkey bars. Nothing to worry about because it's really only 4 crows,
Cut back to Melanie. Look at the school. Has no idea what's going on behind her. And they cut back to the monkey bars.
Now 7.
There's 7 crows on the monkey bars.
Cut away again.
Back to Melanie. When are they coming out? And then?
Cut. There's like 40 crows on the monkey bars.
That thing's covered in crows. Now.
Brilliantly done.
Personal note. On a trip to England, I went to see Stonehenge. Right? The ancient rocks, you've seen them. Especially horror movies. They love using Stonehenge. They never show you in these pictures and in these movies is Stonehenge is covered in crows. Crows live there. That is their domain. Okay? And to stand there and see these crows, they watch you. It is the creepiest thing you have ever seen. I kid you not.
Rocks covered in guano.
With crows staring at you like, what are you doing in my house? That's what's on the monkey bars.
All right. Kids are then attacked. I mean, what happens is, I'm trying to move it along because we're now 55 minutes.
She sees it, startled.
Mm-hmm.
She goes. She runs into the school, warns Annie. Right. So Annie dismisses the kids and
as a fire drill.
And tells them to run. Okay. Well, let me tell you what running did. The crows now consider them targets. They went after those kids with a vengeance. And it ain't pretty. One little girl, Bendita, she falls, smashes her glasses and scrapes up her face.
Oh.
She's crying, Kathy, help me, Kathy. And Kathy, to her credit, stops, runs back to help her friend, and then Melanie goes and helps the 2 of them. They got separated from everybody ran on ahead, and so wisely, Melanie finds that there's a parked car. Mm-hmm. She opens the door, shows the 2 kids in the car, closes up the window, and they wait out the attack in that parked car. She saves the life of those 2 girls.
Yeah, bam, 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 bam. Just a lot of action and chaos, and now, like, they cut to the next scene, which is now in the diner again, And
Melanie's talking to her father. The newspaper man is trying to explain to her father what's going on. The people in the diner are hearing everything and they're freaking out because she's talking about the birds attacked the kids at the school. And to make a long story short, Mrs. Bundy comes in, who's an ornithologist, and she totally dismisses everything that's happened, saying that it's impossible, that birds do not act that way. It cannot. She cannot be right. Birds do not act that way.
there's a doom crier inside of the, we always have in horror movies, you have to have the prophet of doom. The one that says, oh, the Lord is taking vengeance on us because we're against nature, and this and that and the other thing. So he exacerbates the problem because people are already in a panic, and he's saying, this is vengeance from the Lord,
He's drunk.
Yeah, he's drunk. And there's this one lady who isn't from town.
Traveling.
She's traveling with her two kids.
And the two kids are freaking out.
Yeah, and so she's like trying to get them out of there. And she eventually finds another person that says, I'm leaving town. We'll leave together. I'll show you the fastest way out of town. So they go.
Now the restaurant has these huge windows.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
Pane glass windows, yeah.
You know how restaurant windows are. You can see everything out in the street. And there's another attack. Probably the biggest one.
Mm-hmm.
The town is attacked. And not just,
a huge amount of birds.
Huge.
So Miss Ornithologist they go running back into the diner after she goes out into a telephone booth.
It's horrible. The birds attack a guy who's putting gas in his car, so he drops the pump, and there's gas everywhere, and it goes to a guy who was in the parking lot. He gets out of the car. He's lighting a cigar. So his car goes up, which sets off in
chain
succession.
reaction.
Each car in the parking lot, the flames go up the gas that's on the ground to the pump. The pump goes up. So on top of the birds attack, right?
Now you have fire.
Yeah, now you have fire. The town is burning.
And when Mitch and her go back into the diner, there are people in the diner, and now they believe in even further.
Right. And
the lady who had the two kids approaches her and says, "They told me that this happened when you first got here. So this is you. You're evil.
You're the cause of this."
Uh-huh.
And she gets hysterical, and Melanie has to sock her one.
Yeah.
She slaps her to end her hysteria.
Yeah. But you get the sense like, hey, maybe it is Melanie's fault. I mean, this didn't happen before. And we were seeing this happen in San Francisco. There was some kind of something going on in San Francisco, but so we don't get a sense of this happening all over, because they could have said something on the news that we hear. We hear news going on in the radio, because Mitch turns the radio on to see what's going on. It's only Bodega Bay. Nobody says anything about New York, or Chicago, or even San Francisco. So we get this sense that it's an isolated incident.
Now, while she was in the restaurant, remember that this happened after the attack at the school. When Mitch arrives, he asks for Kathy. She says that Kathy is in Annie's house. So now they go to Annie's house to get Kathy. And what they find is Annie dead outside. Okay. And this is when Hitchcock gives us a little more magic, a little more of his magic. This is what we're talking about. Um, he brings Kathy's is hysterical inside the house. Um, Annie's on the steps of her front porch. She's dead. He gets Kathy out.
Spoiler alert.
Well, we haven't held back anything up until now.
Well, because I don't want to tell the ending. That's the only thing. So yeah, you can say that.
Well,
let's
let's end it here. Let's end it here. The movie is fantastic. It is an incredible movie, and I wholeheartedly recommend it.
Okay, we didn't talk about themes. Clearly, there's a relationship between Mitch and women. The relationship between mom, his relationship between his mother, his relationship with his sister, relationship with a former girlfriend, and with a potential new relationship. So, handled all with a lot of respect. Again, like the Beard said, could have been caricatures, no caricatures at all. It's all a case of they're all treated with extreme respect.
They're simply complicated people.
Yeah.
They're all complicated people. Even Melanie is a complicated person because it turns out that what she's being accused of is not true. She is a practical joker. She is a liar. But that fountain thing, she was not naked and jumped into a fountain. A friend of hers pushed her, fully clothed, into the fountain. So that reputation.
She was just hanging out with a group of,
friends, and one of them
silly friends.
And one of them pushed her, and she fell into a fountain. So that reputation was undeserved.
Not only that, it was perpetuated by her father's rival newspaper.
Right.
So as a consequence, you could see how this could be like a total misrepresentation of her character. Not total, though.
No, she is a practical joker. Mm-hmm. She is a liar.
But there's a sweetness too.
Right. But she's not a total flake. And she's not she's not a whore. She's not, she's not.
No, all of that is handled pretty well. All right, style. Obviously, Hitchcock had a specific style that he did perpetuate a lot of suspense, and like I said, there is a scene in the house near the end of the movie. Well, practically the end of the movie. There's a scene in the house where they're in the house, they're boarded up the house, waiting for another attack. And what happens is they are silent. When they're in the house, Mitch is putting logs into the fire, and there is absolute no music. They don't speak. There's no dialogue. And they're all like, very much like, Melanie is holding Kathy. There's a lot of going on, nuance, and it's all in silence. So that's brilliant stuff, that you can move a story along with silence. Really great.
Because the natural tendency is to try to fill up silence with noise. And Hitchcock doesn't do that.
No. In fact, like I said, there's very little score, musical score, because Hitchcock didn't believe in that. He wasn't going to pay people for music, which was an ancillary thing for him. The movie itself is one of those things that remains doesn't give you a pat answer.
No.
Why did this happen? How did this happen? Did it stop?
It's not important.
It was all about the ride.
It was all about Mitch and Melanie and Lydia and Kathy. That's what, and the story and when their story ends, the movie ends. Doesn't matter whether answers, all your answers were, all your questions were answered. Doesn't matter. That's not what the movie is about. The movie is about Melanie, Mitch, Lydia, and Kathy.
And a very important episode in their life. That's
Yes.
it.
Probably the most important episode in their life. And so when that episode is over, the movie is over.
All right. So do we want to now give our recommendations and
Give your geeks your
ratings and recommendations?
rating. Go ahead.
Is it my turn?
Yeah, go
Okay.
ahead.
All right. All right. My melt. All right. Where have your hands been? No.
They've been right here. I've been right here. I've been right here
Playing
with you
pocket pool.
I've been right here this whole time.
All right. Okay. Grey Geeks. It's really difficult because it's an old time movie, 1963. Well, let me tell you,
Don't look it.
it didn't look it. The production values are awesome. The set design. I mean, some of it. Now, when you read behind the scenes and stuff that, Tippi Hedren is new to the game, and they say they're going to use mechanical birds in a scene, and they're throwing real life birds at her, and she's getting cut, and she can't say anything because first of all, this is her first movie. Second of all, she's not aware of what she's supposed to do. She only knows what they tell her, and 3, she has a contract with Alfred Hitchcock, and she's afraid that if she says anything, they'll break the contract. Her career's over.
Her career's over. It's the end of her career.
So, I am going to say, I'm giving it 5 Grey Geeks. It's classic. It's wonderful. The story could have been cardboard. Special effects, are dated in the fact that, you see a lot of green screen. It's...
This is 1963. Yeah. They had no choice. They're a year away from the portable handheld camera being invented, and at least 2 years from it becoming...
It's stationary cam. All of it is stationary cam.
Which is why you wind up with so much green screen, because they had... In other words, they didn't have the cameras at the time to film a person driving. Nowadays, if they want to film Lewis driving, they build an extension to the front of the car, and they place the camera on the car, this miniature handheld camera, and while he's really driving the car, right, you're filming. Mm-hmm. That's real. You couldn't do it in those days. The cameras were huge. You needed a crane in order to move these cameras. So you were forced to use green screen, which, you're faking you're faking the person driving. That's it. It was the times. It's not the movie's fault. Mm-hmm. They didn't have the technology.
Yeah, and they used a lot of robot birds, a lot of fake birds, to mimic the attack on the kids. They, when the bird is on, the crow is on the shoulder of one of the kids and pecking, it's a puppeteer doing that. Going like this, and that bird is like going like this, and they're spraying blood. I mean, the effects are really good. I mean, now.
And that's what they had.
Yeah.
At that time, that you're forced to. They had no morphing. There was no CGI.
And I, for one, like that there's no explanation. I like that. It would have, and as a horror fan, I would have been waiting for a sequel. You know, because it's like, okay, they didn't explain it here. When are they going to explain it? And there was a sequel in 1992 by
60 years
Rosenfeld, who did Friday the 13th Part 3. So
yeah, great successor for Hitchcock.
Yeah, so and he's no Hitchcock, all right. So yeah, I'm giving the 5 Grey Geeks. Gonna say it was as close to perfect as it could come. Not thrilled by Alfred Hitchcock's methods of getting the most out of his actors. The guerrilla filmmaking on this is just horrid, just absolutely abhorrent. I can't believe that he treated Tippi Hedren this way. You know, her ignorance of being her first movie. Listen, what is she wasn't gonna rock the boat. So years later, when he was dead, and she could, she was already.
And everybody was talking about it.
So
because she's not the only one that this happened to.
All right. So yeah, that's my rating and recommendation is yes, you have to watch this. Again, you don't have to love it like I love it, but you should watch this.
I completely agree. I wholeheartedly concur. I think this is one of the greatest movies ever made. Okay, I don't think that you can say you shouldn't not say that because a movie belongs to a certain genre. As if to say that only a drama can be the greatest movie ever made. Gone with the Wind or Citizen Kane. I don't believe that. I believe that any genre can create within its genre a great American movie or a great movie, international movie, a great movie. Period. And I consider The Birds a great movie. And it is. I cannot think. My criteria is I cannot think of anything wrong. Okay, I cannot think of a mistake. I cannot think of a flub. I cannot think of anything that should have been done differently or could have been done better. Especially if you take into the fact that it's 1963. So you're dealing with technology and you're dealing with movie making of that time, of that period. How does it stand? And it stands. And then the writing, I can't think of anything wrong. The acting, nothing. Costumes, choreography.
The kid actors were great.
Yes, it does everything that it's supposed to do. Everything that a movie is supposed to do. So, having said that, I gotta agree with Lewis. I'm giving it 5 Grey Geeks. I think the movie's perfect. I can't think of anything that would improve upon it, and therefore the movie is perfect for its time. And movies should be judged for their time. They should not be judged in comparison to 50 years later. Yeah. Yes, that is unfair. That is unfair. Movies have to be judged within the context of when they were made, and when it was made, 1963. This movie's perfect.
And not a moment of boredom.
No.
I wasn't bored at all.
No, and nothing wasted. No filler, no fat. All meat. I wholeheartedly...
He loves the meat.
I love the meat. I wholeheartedly recommend this movie. I recommend this movie if you like horror movies. If you like suspense, if you like thriller, recommend this movie. But I also recommend this movie. This is a movie, if you love movies.
Cinephiles.
Yeah. If you love movies, this is a movie to see. I mentioned before, Gone with the Wind. I mentioned Citizen Kane. There are certain movies that you should see. everybody should see. 2001, A Space Odyssey. Everybody should see it at least once. Citizen Kane, Gone with the Wind. I would put The Birds up there. I really would. And so I recommend, if you have never seen The Birds, watch it. Please watch it. If you've seen it before, watch it again. Believe me, there are going to be nuggets there that you either missed the first time or forgot about. I've seen this movie at least 37 times. I watched it with Louis yesterday, and there was gems that I had missed. It was. I enjoyed watching it over again, and I especially enjoyed watching it with him. So maybe that's what it takes. If you've seen this movie before, grab somebody you love, and watch where you grab them. Grab somebody you love, sit down, and watch it again, please.
Especially someone whose opinion you respect.
That's right.
You know, as far as being cinephiles. This, I don't think you have to be a cinephile to watch this. However,
if you are,
yeah, you need to. Absolutely.
You need to watch this movie.
Yeah, we constantly were like, "Do you see that? It's quiet. No, because why? Because if you watch movies nowadays, there's music and everything.
Sometimes the music gets in the way of the dialogue.
Yeah.
And in this movie, it's not just quiet either. Body language. We watched the scene. Did you see that? Look at her face.
Yeah.
Look at her face. Look at how she's sitting. Incredible and symbolism, right? There are symbolic imagery in this movie. Hitchcock knew he was a genius. He was a rotten human being, okay? But he was a genius. And what he managed to put on the screen.
Watch the lovebirds.
Okay? Look at the sky. Watch the sky.
Yeah, so, Alfredo, I hope that you've enjoyed what we've talked about.
Alfredo, I hope it makes you want to go watch it again.
Dilcia?
Same thing. I hope it makes you want...
See, it was one of the top movies. I know. But, yeah, it's just not one of the top 10. Because, again, I put a restriction on myself.
Right.
Alfred Hitchcock can't be,
He can't be all 10.
Yeah, all 10.
Although he could.
Well,
I mean, come on, Psycho,
That's why it's my number one. But yeah, definitely The Birds is up there. Thrilled. Thank you for suggesting this. Do you have anything else to say?
Nope, I said it all.
Okay. So, with that having been said, thank you for your affection and your attention.
Yep. And I almost forgot what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Please continue to press the like button. We love your comments. Please be interactive. One of the reasons why we've done this video is because we have interactive people. Twitter, that's my Twitter. My sister has revealed my Twitter already on Facebook, but if you haven't, it's at CaptynYaleTalon at Captain Yale Talon. The website, don't forget, is www.themustacheandthebeard.com, and our Facebook page, which Junior the Beard constantly is updating. So we thank you for them. I am Louis Matos, the Mustache.
I am Junior Figueroa, the Beard.
We say goodbye.
So long. Arrivederci. Hasta luego. Peace.